Breaking overnight, an active crime scene now clear in Fort Myers. ABC7 is uncovering what caused police to tape off this area near Central Avenue.
Then a gun safety talk happening today in Texas. Get more on how a new Southwest Florida city is working to keep our students safe from gun violence inside schools.
And on their way to making history, we're getting you more on the gubernatorial candidates who are changing the landscape of politics. It's next at 6.
We are following breaking news right now, an active crime scene in Fort Myers. It is now clear just in the last 30 minutes, police removed tape from Royal Palm Avenue to Central Avenue. Officials were investigating an apartment complex on Morado Street. We arrived on scene right around 4 a.m. We saw an ambulance leaving that area. We're working to get you some more information from police, and obviously we will bring that to you as soon as we can. We always have you most up-to-date information, the newest developments of that scene as well as others. And a live report coming up at 6:30. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jen Stacy.
I'm Emily Burris. Glad to have you with us on this Wednesday morning. ABC7 is your weather authority, and weather is the big story of the week. So we want to check in with meteorologist Jim Dickey in the Forecast Center. He's looking at today and the holiday weekend. Jim, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Emily. Yeah, but let's start with today and some good news in that finally skies have cleared out. We're going to see some sunshine as the sun rises here over the next hour. Clear skies right now in the Fort Myers area. 71 degrees currently. It's warm, it's humid, and all around today looking like a fairly traditional rainy season day. Fog trackers showing reduced visibilities. Whenever you see a number below 10 at the airports, which is what I'm showing you here, it means there's some fog trying to settle in. Nothing all that dense, but something I'll be watching as we go through the next hour and something to keep in mind as you head your way to work. Take a look at the satellite imagery. Finally, the skies have cleared over Southwest Florida. Still some thick cloud coverage off to our south. A little bit of that tries to work its way into Collier County. Otherwise, clear blue skies as we start our day, and no rain to track with our real-time radar. We're dry right now, but the sea breeze builds in. It'll kick up some showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Like I said, fairly traditional rainy season day, with those rain chances peaking right around 4 and 5 o'clock, so right around the evening commute. I'll have a closer look at the rain chances for later on today, and we'll look at the potential tropical disturbance, bringing us some rainfall into the weekend. That's back here in about 10 minutes.
All right, Jim, thanks so much. Today marks day 2 of roundtable discussions about gun safety. The conversations stemming from the most recent high school shooting in Santa Fe, Texas.
These sessions are focusing on gun regulations, mental health, and causes of gun violence. Reporter Jim Rowbottom has more on the change that these sessions could now bring.
The first session at the state capitol Tuesday focused on school and community safety. It included school administrators, politicians, law enforcement officials, and an architect with expertise on school design. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said they discussed ideas including enlarging the school marshal program, hiring more school counselors, installing more metal detectors, and increasing parental accountability.
Parents are partly responsible for this, and they need to be held accountable for it.
The discussions were prompted by the killing of 10 people at Santa Fe High School last week. Authorities say a 17-year-old student walked into school with a shotgun and a pistol and killed 8 students and 2 teachers. As leaders began discussing solutions, students returned for their belongings.
It felt weird, empty, because every single door's open.
Meanwhile, the remains of one of the victims, a 17-year-old exchange student, arrived in her native Pakistan. Houston Astros players are among those honoring the victims. Players wore shirts before their game Tuesday that declared, "We play for Santa Fe." And the owner of the Houston Rockets is giving every member of the school's senior class free tickets to a conference championship basketball game in Houston on Thursday. I'm Jim Rowbottom reporting.
After today's session, tomorrow's Thursday roundtable will be focusing on victims and their families. As for the shooting suspect, Demetrius Pagortis is charged with capital murder of multiple people and aggravated assault on a public servant. He has not yet entered a plea.
Well, since the Parkland shooting here in February, schools in Florida are now required to have school resource officers. In Fort Myers, the city is giving $850,000 to pay for 14 new SROs. It's about $50,000 for each officer. The Lee County School District will pay for the other half required. The city will also create 2 sergeants' positions. That is expected to cost about $297,000. These additions won't cost you as a taxpayer anything. The deputy budget director expects the city tax rate to stay the same.
I got 5 girls out there in school, and I would love to have a resource officer taking care of, looking out for them, making sure they're safe.
Right now, Fort Myers city leaders are working to figure out exactly how they're going to fund officers for the first few months of the school year, because the city's budget has already been set through August. The next workshop meeting on this topic is happening in July. Cape Coral council members approved their plan to spend more than $1 million to add school resource officers. Cape Police plan to pull 22 officers from their force and move them into the city's public and charter schools. The money for these officials will come out of its reserve fund.
The conversation on gun reform is being pushed forward by Florida students. Today, several Stoneman gunless students will be joining others at the House Forum on Gun Violence Prevention. Those students will speak with Democratic lawmakers, including Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi.
We're following some breaking news at 6:05 this morning. A woman named Stacey Abrams won the Democratic primary in the state of Georgia. Last night's win makes her the first black woman in the nation to hold a major party's nomination for governor. If Abrams wins the general election come November, she would become the nation's first black female governor.
This is our moment, our chance to lift up Georgia. And if we fight, if we push, if we work, we will win.
Georgia's Republican race could be headed for a runoff. None of the 6 candidates currently holds a majority of the vote.
In Texas, an ex-sheriff is the first openly gay and first Latina governor nominee. Lupe Valdez defeated Andrew White Tuesday to win the Democratic bid for governor. Last night in Dallas, she thanked supporters for her victory.
After many long nights, late nights, and thousands of miles traveling across Texas in my little pickup truck, I'm honored to be here at this moment, fueled by the energy in the room and by the people of Texas.
Valdez will face an uphill battle come November. That's when she squares off against incumbent Republican Governor Greg Abbott.
And New York State now has its first ever female attorney general. The state legislature officially appointed Barbara Underwood to the role on Tuesday. She took over on an acting basis earlier this month after her predecessor, Eric Schneiderman, resigned amid allegations of assault by several women. Underwood will serve as New York State's attorney general until the end of the year.
It's 6:07 a.m. everybody. Breaking news right now. The search for missing flight MH370 will officially come to an end on May 29th. The Malaysian flight mysteriously disappeared on March 8th, 2014, with 227 passengers on board. There have been many theories about the disappearance, including the latest theory that the pilot was suicidal and shut off the cabin pressure mid-flight and crashed the plane intentionally. Here's a look at where the map, including the last radar contact with the aircraft, as well as possible debris just off of the east coast of Madagascar, was discovered. Of course, investigators now, I just read, are debunking the latest theory that the pilot was suicidal, but the aircraft was actually on its way from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, China, and just mysteriously disappeared, of course. But again, that search for the missing aircraft ending in 6 days from right now. Jen?
All right, Greg, thank you. We have some new details this morning about the school bus driver involved in a crash that killed a teacher and student. Officials say the driver had his license suspended 14 times. Records show his most recent suspension ended in January. Driving records also show Muldrow was ticketed 8 times for speeding. New Jersey State Police and prosecutors are still investigating that deadly crash that the driver was involved in.
The man involved in the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting is expected to plead guilty. Esteban Santiago is expected to plead guilty to 11 of the 22 counts against him in the airport attack. Last year, he flew from Alaska to Fort Lauderdale with a handgun in a checked weapons box. He then went to the bathroom and loaded his gun before shooting it inside the airport. 5 people were killed, 6 others hurt in that attack. Santiago's plea deal is expected to be finalized today.
Today, a House Commerce Subcommittee will hold a hearing about the Olympic community. That hearing will focus on whether the community is actually able to protect athletes from sexual abuse. The heads of several national athletics groups, including the USA Gymnastics and USA Swimming, will testify at that hearing.
The Robert E. Lee Monument has divided a community. Now it's dividing Fort Myers and Lee County. Lee County's legal team says it has no ownership of the monument. That is despite the city's attorney, which says the two have joint ownership. The NAACP wants the bust removed. Other groups have pushed back for it to stay. Lee County's NAACP president says he wants the monument moved no matter who owns it.
think putting it in the museum is the right thing to do. We don't want to tear it down. We don't want to see nobody tear it down.
While the city and county figure out who owns the statue, the NAACP is planning another protest in June.
Soon, Collier County will have a new emergency helicopter in their fleet. The only helicopter they have right now is out of service after making an emergency landing at Naples Airport Monday. Crews say it's going to take a few days now to fix the engine. Commissioners approved the purchase of the new helicopter. It could cost up to $10 million, but a lot of people say that price is well worth it.
It's scary to think that, you know, somebody's going to need to be airlifted somewhere and they're not going to be available to do that.
I think that, yeah, it might be time for an update.
The current helicopter is 20 years old. Crews say that they will purchase the same helicopter so that they don't have to retrain their pilots and they can get it back up in the air right away.
Well, the all-knowing tech giant Amazon, they're coming up with some new facial recognition tools. And the first people they're thinking about giving them to is police officers.
Get more now on why some advocate groups think that this tool may actually do more harm than good.
Yeah, plus you may be paying too much money for your utility bill. We'll show you why paying your bill online could cause you to get late fees.
We're going to start our Wednesday with some sunshine, followed by another round of afternoon thunderstorms out there. And of course, keeping an eye on an area of thunderstorms, the Caribbean, which looks to bring us some soaking rain as we work into the holiday weekend. Off Southwest Florida's most accurate forecast, right back here after the break.